Right, sorry, everybody. Welcome back to ADHD. Me and ADHD. I've got Tim MacWilliam with me. We've been talking for the last 10 minutes, and I've just realised I haven't pressed record.
Yeah,
so,
it was going so well.
It was. Oh, no. And Tim was just telling me about his childhood, diagnosed at 58. And he's just telling me about his childhood and how it was at school. Take it away.
Well, yeah, I was saying I was diagnosed at 58, and by my daughter Vicky. I've been to Norwich City FC, and I did some work there describing the football matches to partially sighted and blind fans. And I just felt I normally enjoy those things. And I was so down, I was getting more and more down. And I went home back to Vicky, and I just in her flat in Norwich, and I said, I feel really depressed. I need to have some drugs or take something for it. And she said, I don't think you're depressed. Have you ever thought you might have ADHD? And then suddenly it makes all the sense in the world. And everyone I spoke to, I rang my sister up, who I'm really close to, and she said, oh, no, really? But by the end of the conversation, she thought, oh, yes, definitely. And she found a book called All Dogs Have ADHD, which is like a children's book. Okay. And she went through every page, and yeah, I ticked every box. And from then on, we did some more thorough tests, and my diagnosis, such as it was, it took a long time. Even before the pandemic, there was like I think a 2-year waiting list, which is nothing these days compared with what people have to wait for. But I went private for the cost of a small holiday, and that was over a Zoom call because it was during the pandemic, and I wasn't totally convinced by it. And they were actually the people that were on Panorama, the people at Harley Street psychiatrists.
Okay.
But they did. But then I found lots of people that diagnosed by them were fine, but I wasn't totally sure because they were kind of handing out, medication a bit quick, and I wasn't quite certain. It was just like hundreds and hundreds of questions with yes or no answers. But then I went to the NHS services as a couple of years later, and they confirmed everything. So
that's good.
That was finally that was the ones I had 2 diagnoses. Plus, I don't know, the ones online and so forth. You've got to be careful of. Yeah. But you know yourself, don't you, Darren? When you get a diagnosis or how you feel, or when you look at it, you think, "Oh, yeah, that's me." But it's quite a broad church, so different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your symptoms suit different people.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, I got diagnosed at 51, so it was only a few months ago, and just turned 52 now. But our son is neurodiverse, and it's only from researching how I could help him before he got diagnosed last year, autistic, and now ADHD as well. But it's only researching for help for him that I kind of started looking at all the things about ADHD and autism and all that. I tick so many of these boxes. And to be fair, I went for my autism assessment first, but I'm not autistic. And they sort of explained why. And they said, we do see some ADHD in you. And they allowed me to do the QB test, the computer test with, I don't know if you did that or
yes,
not.
Yeah. I did, yes. I've done so many different tests, but they're all a bit, I can understand that. Yes, it's a bit repetitive, and you can easily, overdo it, can't you, with that?
Yeah. So they allowed me to do that and said, yeah, okay, so go off, get yourself assessed. I took that with me as well. I went private because of the waiting list. And they said, yeah, it's predominantly inattentive, which I thought, because I can't think. It's really hard. But yeah, and I heard a lot of the things about the Panorama as well. I saw the Panorama program, and I said to the guys there, I am really worried about this, because it's a lot of money to pay for a 20-minute consultation, and just, you know what I mean? It's just, and they reassured me and took me through everything. It's like 3 hours I was there for, going through everything. Yeah. They were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so, but yes, like you say, you can get some, I guess, some not so, good.
Yeah, I mean, Mine was okay. It was over two. I think I had two appointments. One was a long question and answer session and a chat. The second one was with, I think, a psychiatrist who followed that up, and they were both very good. And at the end of it, they just diagnosed, and they gave me a private prescription, which I had no idea would cost an arm and a leg. And I almost walked out of the chemist. They said that'd be £40. No, and I started to go out the chemist, and he shouted at amongst everybody in the whole place, "Shall I throw them away then?" I sort of turned around and I just paid him the money. I put one in my mouth before I left the shop. So yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. But and then there was lots of hassle, because I thought, I don't know about you, but I thought I was doing the NHS a favour by going private, getting that diagnosis. But it wasn't the case, because my doctor said that they didn't do the checks on things like blood pressure and whether I'll be suitable and tolerant for the medication. He advised me not to take them anymore. And then I said, well, also the cost of the prescriptions. And he said, all you can do, write to your MP. And that was rubbish advice. But eventually I did write to my MP. And yeah, he sorted it out. So I was quite surprised. He actually got the whole thing out. And even though it didn't help me, I think hopefully it helps people in this area to get this joint agreement between NHS and private, so you can get a cheaper prescription.
Yeah.
If you do need the medication. So
yeah, I was really surprised. I was really surprised how much it costs. And obviously, when they go on medication, you start off in the low dose to begin with. And I was getting it with my sons, and it was like, I think it was about 40, 50 quid to begin with. And just the last thing we paid before we went to shared care, we were lucky that we had the shared care, for both of ours was like 140 something pounds. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah,
but my sister goes back to when I was about, I think, 3 years old. I'm going to this candlelit church in Bracknell, so old Anglican church, hundreds of years old, and they gave out candles to everybody, and including like a hyperactive 3-year-old, because it was in the 1960s, before any kind of health and safety. And I waved my candle around so much, I set fire to the coat of the lady in front of us. And my dad was trying to blow the flames out and everything. And he did. In the end, it was tinging orange everywhere. And eventually it went out. And because there was so much incense in the church, the lady didn't even know. And my sister was on the floor laughing, and my mother was ignoring it, just singing the hymn. My brother was getting
I was just about to say, is it appropriate to laugh or not? Because I'm dying.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, if you fast forward several decades, I went to the Castle Museum in Norwich, centuries and centuries old, and there's a shop there, and my 2 young children were there with my wife, and there was this marble there, lovely marble, and I thought it was a Super Ball. So I picked it up to bounce over the big beam, and picked it up and threw it on the floor, because it smashed to pieces. And to everybody else, it looked like I just randomly decided to smash one of the ornaments. And so we just paid for it and got out, really. And my daughter said, "Why did you do that?" So I thought it was a Super Ball. And she said, "What's a Super Ball?" So yeah, even then. So you do things like that. So I've gone swimming in the sea with my car keys in my pocket without knowing, more than once. So, and they get lost. So then it's like an incentive kind of thing, isn't it? And it's like I don't know about you, but if you really need to get something done, you can do it. You can put your mind to it. If something has to be done, if there's something important, then you can really kind of focus on it and get it done. If you need to pass an exam or speak to people or do something important, get it done. But a lot of the time, you've got like 6 things going through your mind at the same time.
Yeah, it's really hard to pull the focus to the right area that you need to concentrate on, especially if it's not something that you need to do, kind of thing. But this is great. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here, because
yes, it's very interesting.
It's
thank you. Yes, very kind.
I've got the book.
Thank you for buying that. You're very kind to buy that.
And this is going to be because of my medical, I've never read a book. I've never read a book.
Well, it's okay.
I was going to say, I get through a few words,
Yeah.
and I forget what I've read,
Yeah.
and it's just really, really hard. So I've never read a book, and studying, I stuck to one field basically. Was topic was as fitness. I used to manage health
Okay.
clubs and gyms and personal training and all that. And I found that topic, anatomy and physiology, for some reason all sank in. Anything else, no.
Yeah.
And I just when I started doing the study, I did a little course on mental health online for to help with my son, and I noticed then it was painful, literally, because
Right.
you did a little exam afterwards, kind of thing, and it was I couldn't believe how hard it was, and I think they said that it was like an hour. You're going to do like an hour of reading each day, for like 7 days, and the test at the end.
Mm.
I was reading like 8 9 hours a day because I just couldn't do it. It's mental torture, just trying, because I know I have to do it, and I forced myself, but it was just not good. But with
That's an interesting,
medication, yeah,
absolutely, because I mean, it's an interesting thing because I hadn't read a book of fiction in my life up to about the age of 58. And it wasn't until my wife became unwell and she asked me to read to her. So she'd pick out a novel and we'd read it. And I'd want to stop. I'd forget names, the plots, everything. We carry on going because I had to.
yeah.
We had to keep going. And now I've got through about 40 to 50 books in the last 5 or 6 years, but only because Catherine needs me to read to her. Otherwise, I'd have stopped and not
Okay.
read it. One or two we've actually stopped because they've been really bad ones. But things like the Richard Osman books are quite easy reads to get through, and we got through a few more heavy duty ones. Some I'm thinking, how on earth can these be published? But I but yes, so it's funny, isn't it? Because you have to do it, and you have to do it kind of well, and it kind of, I suppose, it appeals to my inner show off. But I got my English literature teacher at school threw me out of her class, not because out of bad behavior or because I wasn't doing the work right, but she basically thought I wasn't up to it because she'd just seen me in the past and just thought I would. But I think the inattentive thing, I don't know about you, Darren, but it seems to get confused with laziness.
Yeah.
So they think you're lazy, you can't be bothered, or don't listen. But quite often you need to have your attention grabbed to listen to that person, and you might just hold your attention. But I went to one of a terrible 1970s comprehensive that I think was given the nickname of the Zoo. So that wasn't very good, and there was, oh goodness me, I think the headmistress was alleged to have been an alcoholic, and there were all these kind of really bad hoodlums there. So you just kind of kept the head down and tried not to get into too much trouble with it all. But the teachers didn't seem to be too bothered about trying to teach the kids who they thought were second rate or couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
And my mum said to me years later, when I tried to explain before the ADHD diagnosis, but she said to me, "Oh, I should have sent you to the posh school by the railway station," but she didn't get it that I just didn't get on with school. I couldn't do it at all. But when I left school, when I had to do certain things, a bit like you said, I did battle through and get those qualifications because I needed to, because I left school with nothing whatsoever.
Yes.
I just blagged my way on to getting a job based on I'd had 4 O levels. I knew I'd failed them all, and when I quite enjoyed the jeopardy of it all happening. Oh, good, this is going to be really fun. But eventually got all these 4 ungradeds instead of 4 A, B, or C's, and I was given a job locking up a cupboard basically for a few years. They asked me to resit my exams, which I did, and I failed. But in that time, I set up a business buying and selling football programs and memorabilia. And that
Okay.
was quite successful. So stuff I was interested in, just did that as a 19-year-old from my bedroom. I had customers all around Europe, and I had a shop on a football grounds in Berkshire. And again, it's like you say, it's something that actually interests you, that makes a difference.
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely. Put a little bit of boring in there, and then you're gone. It's gone. It's
Yeah,
gone.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's crazy how things like that can make a massive difference. But no, but you've been successful in your own right. You've done well. You've worked hard. You're now an author.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. That's great to have that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I just started off writing a little. I think I just wrote down an anecdote for somebody about me losing my keys in the sea more than once. I think I know what it was. I sent it to Steve Wright. Steve Wright in the afternoon was asking for anecdotes, and I think Catherine or I just sent him a little anecdote about I'd lost him in the sea. I think 3 times, various reasons, on the beach, and I think he just called me a wally on the air. But I just didn't realise I was just messing around in the sea, and my 2 children, who were about, I don't know, it was 1994, I think it was, so they're very young, like 2 and 6 or whatever, and my wife, they were looking for my keys that I said I'd dropped on the beach, and I suddenly thought, they're in the sea. Now I carried on looking for a while, so I got some good news and some bad news. I know where the keys are. The bad news is they're in the sea, and yeah, let's get a taxi home from Lowestoft back to Norfolk. A huge expense. I had to smash the front door in to get the spare keys, which we still had then, and then get the taxi back again. But the thing, because I've been in the sea, my the taxi driver wouldn't let me in his taxi. I had nothing else to wear, so my wife gave me her pink lycra cycling shorts to squeeze into, because that's the only way I could get back. And then she refused to let me change before I went back to Lowestoft to get the keys back. Yeah, they weren't comfortable. So,
oh, come on! Tell me you got a photo of that though.
She might have somewhere. Yes, yeah. not really become. The thing is, they're totally pink. So people are giving me triple takes. They go, "What is he wearing? He's not wearing." Yes. So, yeah, the neighbours were all there mowing their grass and so forth. But yeah, and I think there's been like holes in the pockets a couple of times, and I was just there with my dog. I had to wait till my daughters to get home from school, and I phoned her to get some money to get a taxi driver to send the keys to me at another beach in Norfolk, where I was for the day, just on a day off, and it started to pour with rain, and the taxi driver was kind of, "You Tim?" It was like the final scene of Back to the Future 2, but he didn't expect me to be there. This guy outside, yeah, my poor dog. I tell you what, though, it felt, well, you can't imagine what it's like to be homeless at all. But I had no shelter, nowhere to go, no money. I had this Labrador with me, and we were just on the beach. I started just picking up rubbish off the beach for something to do, and I noticed people were kind of giving me weird looks as if I was looking for food, and people would kind of bypassing me, wondering why I was this disheveled guy was on the beach, and the dog kept on trying pebbles. He kept on trying to get me back to the car, thinking I'd lost my way. But yeah, I quite often pick up rubbish and bits and pieces off the streets. And early one morning, I dropped my kids from school. Walking back, I was picking up empty bottles of Budweiser that somebody had dropped. And I noticed that people, again, just assumed I had been drinking them at 8 a.m. in the morning, crossing the road. Yeah, I'm picking up your rubbish. So, yeah. But have you found other things with your ADHD, Darren? Things like sensitivity, or perhaps that kind of thing, and now that makes or reject kind of. I think there's a name for it, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Yeah, and that's something that I think I found that even if people, they're not criticizing you, but everything might sound like a bit of a criticism.
Yeah,
and because it must have made sense to, I think you say your wife as well when she found out.
Yes, yeah, because I found that I'm the sort of person who needs information before I start saying things, explaining things. I'm not one of the people who can say, like, yeah, I think I've got ADHD, and I need to know the information first of all. And I struggle to explain a lot of things about me. She's brilliant. She's so calm, and she just took it in her stride. She's awesome. but like things like the rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD,
Yeah.
I found it really hard because it was only about 3 or 4 years ago that I tried to then explain to a little bit how I struggle. And it was really, it's no matter how you explain it to someone, even now, it sounds stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, because you text, when you text me back, you just said no in capitals with question mark, which is like, okay, I've done something wrong. She doesn't like me anymore, or from work or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And it's just, it ruins me for the rest of the day unless something happens to show otherwise. It's crazy. And it's that and um, the lack of focus and the concentration. Those are the two things I think that shaped my life more than anything else. Because everything I did, I think a lot of it was down to I didn't want to feel that rejection anymore. So I put a lot of things in place, a lot of coping mechanisms in place for remembering things, doing things, and all this, just so, and a people pleaser, just so I didn't get any of that as much as possible, and that's tough going.
Because of course, you feel the sensitivity of something being said, then somebody might call you oversensitive, and then you feel the second wave of it, of being, you feel kind of almost like a shame that you've been sensitive, and so
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a double whammy. I think it was the case at Christmas one time, and one of my relatives' girlfriends was explaining a game to be played. No one understood it, but I'd only just been diagnosed with ADHD, not officially, just by oh wow, this is it, just by Vicky. I was feeling a bit more confident about things, so I just said something like, "Oh, this is way too much information for me to take in one go." And then another relative who was, quite often a bit bitey and on my back, they said, "Oh, don't worry about Tim. He doesn't understand the words you've said. He's a bit thick. Keep going." And that was, I kind of, you have all this anger going up and down you, trying to
Ooh,
control it. And
yeah.
so, am I being, and then people laugh as well. And from that, it can be, because it's just a joke, and you think, well, am I being too sensitive and whatever? Whereas in reality, I wanted to just chuck a cup of tea in his face.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I've ever gone that bad before, but if you do, then it's go, oh, you're really bad tempered, because even the nicest dog will bite to get picked on eventually,
Yeah.
or kicked or whatever eventually. But I don't think I've ever bitten back too much. Or if I do bite back, yes, it's kind of, oh, you're sensitive, or you're difficult, or whatever. So it is difficult. And I don't know if you find as well that it's easy almost to read people with ADHD, so you kind of know what they might be thinking even before they do sometimes, or you think you do. You're not always right, but you kind of can perhaps read the body language of that person and what they might kind of think of you. But it can
Yeah.
be
It's
difficult.
I've just got a little thing flashing up saying your time is nearly over.
I know already.
10
Yeah.
minutes or 9 minutes, 9 minutes, 44
Oh,
seconds.
that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But yeah, it is really hard. And it's things like that people don't understand. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't understand it until I got the diagnosis and looking more at it. Because, they ask anyone and they'll know the stereotypical things about ADHD, the hyperactivity, the impulsivity, and not being able to concentrate. And that's it. But it's not it. There's so much more that goes with it as well.
Yeah, it's strange. A lot of people just don't see it in you. They think it's all about a hyperactive child running around the room, smashing into the telly, which is what it was once. But it can be something completely different, about your mind wandering in 6 different directions. Or, I mean, I try to explain to people that there were, the people like Richard Branson, Thomas Edison, and Alexander Graham Bell. They're all thought to have ADHD. There's lots of
Yeah.
people that's coming out. Broadcasters like Adrian Chiles, who I think he was talking about his ADHD on the TV earlier this week, was to some controversy.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Well, he didn't say that you can get it from. I didn't see it. I just saw a bit of it, but I saw a lot of the comments back about. But they said you can get it from looking at a phone or something.
Get it from your mobile phone. It gives you ADHD.
Yeah. I did send him a copy of my book, but he did. I don't know if he got it or replied, but or not. So I scattered it around to different people, but you never can tell if it's going to get onto their desk or not. But that was a bit, I suppose, a bit disappointing that somebody quite high profile like him, who has ADHD, didn't perhaps understand what it's about, because he was saying effectively, I think, that you can perhaps catch it.
Yeah. It was one of those things that you look at and you're watching this and you think, it's April Fool's. This has got to be a joke.
Yeah.
This is on a comedy show or something, because it was just so weird to say. But that's a shame, because there's a lot of people struggling to actually get the right information out there and the right understanding.
And people get that, they take it and run with it, and they say, "Oh, you got your." Or people say, "I've got my ADHD from looking at my phone too much." When, as far as I'm aware, it comes down through your genes. But I've no idea who, from my parents or grandparents had ADHD. My mum had epilepsy, and there's some thought that you can pass those genes down. From what I've read, epilepsy and ADHD can be quite often comorbid. The biggest comorbid, I think, are conditions in young people. So there might be an issue with that, as far as I know. But I've no idea where I particularly got it from. But another broadcaster is Richard Bacon. Of course, he was well known for being on Blue Peter, and I think he took some drugs, didn't he? Got thrown off. Yeah, but he comes up with some really good ideas for different game shows and so forth. I think, what is it that show? Whose house is it anyway? And that people have to pretend it's their house. That was his idea, and he's decent kind of broadcaster. So people from all kinds of walks of life who are very successful, like Thomas Edison, thought to have ADHD. And my great aunt Alice worked for him, which is a bit of a weird way to kind of complete the circle of him. But I think he had 2,000 attempts at his invention of the electric light bulb, and if he hadn't done, then we might all be sitting here in the dark still. So he had to keep, because he had the determination that ADHD gave him. And I think it's the same with me, really. I was often fired from jobs because I got sick of working for different people. So I'd just, rather than leave and get myself into trouble, I would do something and get myself fired or made redundant, because I didn't want to work there anymore. In the end, I had to employ myself because I couldn't sack myself. And I think I had 2 children under 3 and mortgage interest rates, and I became self-employed. And I think all that determination and effort sometimes that maybe ADHD gives you, that benefit, probably came to the fore for me that day. So I could, or for that time, even though it gave me a lot of stress, but got there in the end.
I'm sure it did. Exactly the same as, well, not exactly the same. I went from job to job, all in the same sort of in fitness leisure industry. But I moved on because I didn't kind of really understand then. I thought I was going for, promotions and bigger gyms and more money and all that. But looking back, it's like I just got so stressed out with all the different targets and stuff I had to do, and managing the staff and managing the budgets and managing this and to a point where I can't do it anymore. I can't cope. I'll go somewhere else. Dopamine fix. Yes.
Yeah.
Last new job, 3 or 4 months of happiness, and then it slowly gets worse and worse and too much. And then, let's move on to another job. So it's, I think out of 28 years in the industry, I had 19 different jobs with different companies.
Yeah, no, I think that's typical of people with ADHD, just going from job to job. I got almost literally thrown out of a work agency's door because he's looked at my CV, and I had been in and out of jobs every few weeks in some cases. And he just said, "What's your problem? Come back when you've grown up," or some such thing. And threw me out of his office and spoke to my then girlfriend, because she worked in the industry much more professionally than I had, because I couldn't get a job doing anything else than working in a bar. And in the end, I kind of made it my career as such until things went on to other areas.
Brilliant. That is such an interesting story, and it's nice to see people that I guess who are successful in their own right. They found a way, they found a path, like yourself, that done everything as well as doing this
Thank
book.
you.
Sit Still Timmy in all good bookshops. This is going to be my second book. I'm doing what's his name? Clive Myrie's autobiography at the moment.
Yeah, okay,
So
is that
I'm in
good?
chapter 4 at the moment. It's really good, and I still remember it now, and it's great because I've never done that. But as soon as I've finished that, this will be the one.
And what you can do with that, Darren, is just chop and change, because I've written it for people with and without ADHD. So if you see a chapter you like, just read that one.
Okay.
Skip the ones you don't, go back, and they all fit together. But what many people have said to me with ADHD is, I never read, I can't read, I don't read. Why haven't you done an audio version? So that's my next project, to get the audio version done.
Oh, that'd be good. That'll be good. No,
so I should have thought of that, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How long do you reckon? I won't.
I'm hoping I've been really lucky because I've actually got nominated for the East Anglian Book of the Year award.
You have, yes.
So I was so pleased with that, and got that out of the blue. And that's I think the awards are in February, so I'd like to get it done by then.
Oh, well done, you, mate.
I'll get it done.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome that you've done that, and you're, fingers crossed, you're gonna win.
That'd be nice if I did. Yeah. Get the category.
But even to be nominated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that was the thing, to get nominated. I was really pleased about that, and I have that. And I think there's 3 books in each category. Mine is like the memoir and autobiography category. So I'd love to be able to. Well, I'm sure the other books are great as well, but you never know. If I could win that, I'd be more than happy. But being nominated, I want to take that back to my English literature teacher. Say, look, you threw me out of your class.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Love it. Oh, brilliant. Well, I'm absolutely rooting for you, and I'm sure everyone else who's read it or reading it or going to read it.
Thank you.
This is brilliant, and it's been such a pleasure. I was a little bit worried, got to admit, looking at everything, what you have done, like broadcaster. Oh no, I'm in my dining room.
This is interesting. I think just to have people at ease, and you're very enthusiastic, and you ask good questions, and you're really, interactive with me, and I'm sure you're great with all the people you do it with. And you've only just been diagnosed, and now you've got this podcast going with loads of followers. It's really good. You should be really proud that you've done that.
I am. It is really good, and I'm just about to run out. So, guys, everyone, thank you for joining in, and remember, be good, be kind. And remember, you're not alone. Thank you, everybody. Cheers. Brilliant.